Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Refugee to Industrial Regent, Season 2. Welcome to the season premiere of Season 2 of Refugee to Industrial Regent. I am here in Fort Sarbanos, which is the one military base I've got, because what I want to do for this episode is, rather than actually try to build anything substantial or anything like that, I feel it's a good time for a tour of the Basilean. Alright, and this is Fort Sarbanos, and this is the barracks road here. Over here is the 1st Infantry Contubernian, 10 soldiers, nice and cozy. And over here, the 1st Support Contubernian, which, in case you're wondering, is responsible for the fields that you saw over there. And then we've got two areas that are reserved for future Contubernia when I built Fort Sarbanos' last stage. I think it's time to establish the Contubernia before I forget. So on this side will be the 2nd Infantry Contubernian, and over here will be the 3rd. And in case you're wondering why I'm calling them Contubernian rather than squads or anything like that, it's because I was initially aiming for a sort of Byzantine Empire kind of feel. I'm probably going to stick with the Byzantine theming for the nomenclature, but as far as structures, really anything goes as long as I can build it. Now, we do have the mess hall here, which is of a good size. And over here are the fields to feed the soldiers with all sorts of vegetables. Admittedly, no meat at this point, but that is something I will sort out later this stage. And now the incomplete road, and by incomplete I mean barely started, road leads to this dock here, from which I can board a boat. Now, one of the official rules of the challenge is that I'm supposed to connect all of my outposts to the capital by road. I'm not sure I'm going to be in a position to do that, so I'm going to loosen that rule a little bit and say that as long as there's a reasonable connection, it's okay. So, obviously that means the dock has to be connected to Fort Sarbanos. Yeah, it's not horrendous. For those of you who are wondering, I am playing the Refugee to Regent challenge with the Resonant Rise mod pack. Well, mostly the Resonant Rise mod pack. I did remove the Waila Harvestability mod. I didn't really like what it did to the interface. It doesn't work for me. Last season, I used a mod called Journey Map for my mapping needs. This season, I'm using Map Writer, and let me show you the map from Map Writer. And there's Fort Sarbanos, which is nicely covered by a slime island, at least partially nicely covered by a slime island. And my current destination is up here. Now, part of the Refugee to Regent challenge is that technological development is restricted until certain stages of construction are complete. Last season, I completed the first 4 stages of the challenge with some rules of cool, partially to make things interesting and partially to avoid certain frustrations. For example, technically it shouldn't be possible to get a cobblestone generator until stage 5, but for reasons of frustration, I allowed it in stage 4. Now, in stage 5, which is where I am at this point, we actually start to see some basic automation. And let me go ahead and grab the boat, because unfortunately, I don't have a great sea route to Petrola at this point in time. I actually have to go pretty much over land. And let me go ahead and... Whoa! Okay. Nice to see the water dampen the explosion a bit. Ah, okay. I'm running. I am running. It is night. I really shouldn't be out here, but I am. And I'm going to make my way north along this eastern coast here. And one of the disadvantages MapWriter has over Journey Map is that with Journey Map I could, well, with the map I use with Journey Map, and I think I might have used a mini map that's different from Journey Map. But that mini map showed me mob locations. This mini map does not. Whoa. Okay, hold on a minute. Sorry, I'm so... Whoa, 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 whoa. Ay. Sorry. Mobs appearing suddenly like that scare me more than a bit. And it doesn't help that, like I said, this season my minimap is not going to show me mob locations, or at least it's not presently configured to show me where mobs are. At least I'm now on the lit path. I'm just going to follow it the rest of the way into Petrola, which is the name of this outpost over here. I do have, as you can see on the minimap, a bit of a wall, or at least the beginnings of a wall. It is not completely lit up. Criminally. Let me kill the skeleton. Okay, there we go. Now, Petrola is a wood-cutting / beekeeping outpost. Let me check on my bees real quick here. Alright. I currently use bee houses for my beekeeping. I do expect to upgrade those to apiaries. I may or may not get to an alveary this stage. I'm not quite sure. See, okay, I don't have any spare bee materials on me, which is good for the moment. It means I don't have to go in there. Now, I have to admit, I built Petrola in Stage 3, and since I built it, I haven't been here all that often. So it really is a woodcutting and bee maintenance. Well, the woodcutting part is in name only, or at least it was in name only prior to this point. This stage, of course, it will actually see some more activity now that I've built the road connecting to Odysseus. Speaking of which, why don't we take this road to Odysseus? Now, this bridge here, over the Lake Petrola cut, I'm calling that body of water over there Lake Petrola, simply because, let me show you on this big map here, it's a lake. And I've got the town of Petrola on the northwestern shore of it, so Lake Petrola it will be called. And this bridge, crossing the water just north of Lake Petrola, is the fanciest part of the road to Odysseus. And we proceed through an icy wasteland, which is a bit of a bear to clean out, frankly. I do have a lumber axe that I crafted last stage. Unfortunately, it doesn't work against these ice trees. I have to use the hammer, and it takes quite a while, frankly, to cut down a single one of those ice trees. Yeah. Alright. And now you can actually see the lower part of South Odysseus on the right there, along with the beehive I never did get rid of. And now we're coming up to the west gate of Odysseus, but I'm not actually going to park my horse here. Yes, there is a hitching post for the horse here at the west gate of Odysseus. I won't be using it at the moment because I want my horse on the east side of Odysseus for the time being. So let's go ahead and hitch up the horse. Okay. Try that again. There we go. Now that's a hitched up horse. And now we walk through the current east gate of Odysseus that will be replaced this stage. Over here is what was in Stage 3 my sheep holding pens. The sheep holding pens I built in Stage 4 are over there, and they'll likely keep those pens for stage 5 with only minor modifications. And I'll explain what I mean when I get around to those modifications. This here was the initial outer fields that I built in stage 2. Nowadays it only handles wheat, and I don't know if it will maintain its agricultural purpose past stage 5 or if it will be converted to ranching purposes. This here is a farmer's house in Odessos. It too was built in stage 2, and it does have to be upgraded this stage. Up here is the granary, which I most recently rebuilt in stage 3, though the full expansion of it to this stage came in stage 4. But as you can see, I've got a lot of crops. Most of these crops up here are from the Magical Crops mod. Some of these are vanilla. This rice is from Growthcraft. Got more magical crops over here. It's the cotton. I forget what mod the cotton's from. And then I've got ChocoCraft, which ChocoCraft is one of the mods I have added to my mod pack for this series. Keep in mind that the last half of Season 1 was recorded on Resonant Rise version 2.7.0.3. I am on Resonant Rise version 2.8.5.1. And at some point in there, ChocoCraft got removed. I opted to add it back in. I won't fault them for removing it for the general case, but for me, I think I make enough use of it to justify keeping it around. This is my current cow pen. It will not survive the stage. This is the rancher's house. It will be upgraded and probably relocated this stage. Then over here, there's a T-intersection. That road leads to South Odessos. I'll get there in a moment. Over here, like I said earlier, are my sheep pens. Currently, 4 of the 5 are occupied. I'll occupy the 5th and probably build a few more, pushing that wall back. That is the west wall of Odessos. This open area over here was not used as of the end of stage 4. I expect it will be where I move my cows to this stage. And then over here, I have an egg farm, and I have a cooked chicken farm, which gives me the odd bit of raw chicken and a significant number of feathers as well. That will see some upgrades this stage. Mostly this lower section here will be upgraded. Alright, now let's take the road over to South Odessos. You can actually see the old wooden wall there. I can certainly stand to take that down the rest of the way. We've got the old fields, which currently only have cotton in them. We do have the sugarcane farm. That will be moved and upgraded this stage. I've got a plantation owner's house and a farmer's house over here. Couldn't tell you which is which. I should probably mark them so I know which is which. Up here are sites for 2 more houses, quite possibly the relocations of the farm and ranch houses that are currently in North Odessos. Down there you can actually see a dock and a bit of a riverfront district, for riverfront agriculture. I haven't really been doing any riverfront agriculture. And then up here is the meat and potatoes, or at least the potatoes, of South Odessos, the fields. Lots and lots of fields, as you can see on the minimap. And more than a few of these fields are filled. Now, there was a mod called Pam's Harvest Craft that I elected to add to my mod pack. It is new to this season. I did not have it at all last season. It's going to add some new crops, and I have a sinking feeling I don't yet have enough room for all the new crops. So, this may be shaken up a little bit. A couple of the magical crops, things might get compressed a little bit. Maybe 2 of the magical crops crops to a field instead of one. I shouldn't have stomped on that tomato. Do I have... Oh yes, I do have a mattock, which is good. So I can go ahead and retill that. So I want to go ahead and do that. Alright. Let's go ahead and put the mattock back up. Eat some more cooked chicken. Cooked chicken has become a mainstay of my food choices since I built that chicken farm last stage. It may or may not be supplanted this stage. I honestly don't know yet. Now, there are 2 more outposts that I'm going to show you before I make my way to the capital itself. And let me make sure I get things sorted out. Go through the gate here and go ahead and grab my horse. Where's my lead? It's over there. And I'm going to go ahead and make my way north across this ice lake here. There is no road to this point. And I'm not completely decided on whether I want to build a road up there. I mean, it would be safer to build a road because there are a number of holes in the ground that lead a good ways underground. There is a vanilla village, which I'm pretty sure I've already taken care of. And over there, and this is as close as I'm going to go with my horse, but over there is what I'm calling Constantine's Challenge. It is my It is my Tribulation Tower. It currently consists of 2 rooms on 2 floors. It will be upgraded and expanded this stage. Alright, and now I'm going to ride my horse back to Odessos. Hopefully I can get there without falling into any of the holes in the ground. I haven't always been 100% successful with that part of it. Yes, I have once fallen into a fairly deep hole. Took a bit of work to get out of it. Alright. So let's go ahead and hitch up the horse. Head down to the waterfront. Hop in my punt, I believe this boat is called. This is from the Small Boats mod, by the way. To date, I've only built the punt. The second tier of small boats is what's called the White Hull. And I haven't allowed it in previous stages, but I will allow it here. So I will likely be crafting a White Hull at some point this stage. While I'm at it, I should probably mention the other mods I have installed. Like I said, I reinstalled Choco Craft. That was removed from the Resonant Rise mod pack. I also have Mr. Crayfish's Furniture mod, which I had used in Season 1, although not to any significant extent. I guess it has been pretty limited. I expect I'll be using it a bit more this season than I did last season for beautification. I have, like I mentioned in Odessos, I have Pam's Harvest Craft, as well as a support mod for that called Get All the Seeds. And Harvest Craft basically adds a number of new crops and a bunch of new food options that will be useful, at least for aesthetics, and probably also for other things as well. I have to admit, I'm still at an early stage. I've never really done too much with Pam's Harvest Craft, so I'm not super familiar with it. I do know it adds a bunch of, finished food items, things like steak dinners and whatnot. Yeah. I also added Archimedes ships, which allows me to build custom blocky ships and airships and the like. And finally, Flan's mod, which adds vehicles, aircraft. Also some guns, but I don't expect to use the guns in this series at all. And I am now in my mining outpost, Heliopolis. I have the miner's house. And over here is the entrance to the mines. As you can see, the first stage of the mines was really 5 by 5 by 5 open rooms with one thick walls in between them. There are accesses deeper underground, but it's not that I don't want to show it on camera because I'm embarrassed, but it's a cave. Really, it's a cave. If you've played Minecraft, you've seen caves. You've probably seen that cave. Or if you haven't, you've seen one close enough to it to not matter. Alright. I have to sail back to where I hitched my horse. And now that I've shown you all of the outposts, I will actually go ahead and rejoin you in Byzantium, the capital itself. Alright, I've made my way back into Byzantium, and I figure I should start with where you would start if you're traveling to Byzantium by horse, and that is here at the stables. As you can see, I've got my horse over here. I've got a few chocobos around here as well. Some baby chocobos. Sure there's a reason they're not growing. There is a fully grown green chocobo. I could do a bit more with chocobo breeding this season. Whether I do it on or off camera, I haven't decided yet. Let me get to the actual road itself. The first building to the right here is the Byzantium General Hospital. It's a hospital. Nice fountain in front. Reception area. I think that's a patient. Over here we've got our examination rooms and our patient wards over here. Doctor's offices are back there. Nurse's station over there. It's a hospital. Not a big hospital, but a hospital nonetheless. It also has an Ars Magica meteor that landed pretty much on the edge of it. That piece of the meteor there will show up in the opening sequence, and I do apologize for that. Alright, this building here is the military headquarters. We've got our operations room. We've got our planning room with our officers' offices. This barracks is where our officers sleep. And the armory, of course, has equipment for our officers. Fairly straightforward. I don't know if it'll be upgraded this stage or not. I haven't quite decided on that yet. Then over here, this building on the right is the library. You can see we've got a card catalog with no cards. We've got a simple reading area, and we've got some shelves, which are a bit bare, frankly. There may be room for some upgrades in the library. There may not, I don't know. This is the current tree farm that I've used for the last 3 stages in one form or another. I could be starting to wax nostalgic about this, because this is really the site where I started with my tree farm back in stage 2. And I remember the difficulty of constructing it, of having to worry about a wild jungle over there, which has since been completely and utterly tamed. And then fencing it in, and then having to pull it back a bit to make way for the north-south boulevard. This room here is my blacksmith shop. It basically has a Tinker's Construct smeltery in it, and not much else. Over here is the communal workshop, which has my stone generators. A grindstone, which I haven't used all that much for doubling ores, the Tinker's Construct Smeltery is a superior solution in that I don't have to right-click this wooden crank all that much. And it looks like I just broke the wooden crank. So, oh well. That grindstone is not going to be all that long for the world anyway. Over here is the current Byzantium granary. It's got a bunch of food and crop-related stuff in it. Seeds, meat, fish. I'm sure they're going to put the persimmons in there. Miscellaneous stuff, berries and whatnot. That sort of stuff. And then right next to the granary is the storehouse, which stores pretty much everything else. Bees, wool, stone, wood, saplings, random wood products, random types of stone, random stuff I mine from the ground, mob drops, which I'm going to go ahead and populate a little bit further. I'll also go ahead and put the sticks up. But yeah, it's a storehouse. And it's not really the storehouse I want for Stage 5, so it will be rebuilt elsewhere. Right over here, we've got, on the left is part of our plebeian housing district. It actually extends across the block. We do have our ministers' housing in this row here. 4 ministers and 8 plebeian houses. And we also have here a little general store, a little bit sparsely stocked at the moment. It will, I expect, to get better as time goes on. And we also have 2 restaurants. The Byzantine Bakery, which sells bread and bread-related products, and Odessa's Chicken, which, as you can guess, sells chicken. Incidentally, each of these 3 businesses also have plebeian housing above them, so that the proprietors of the shops have places to live. On the left here, as I head down this street, is Stage 3 housing. I may be upgrading at this stage. In fact, I probably will upgrade at this stage. And down here is the Byzantine School. 2 classrooms with teachers and blackboards in front. A little playground for the kiddies to run off all that extra energy they build up when they're sitting at a desk all day. We do have a slide, which I built last stage. And I remember when I built this slide that I was getting a bit frustrated by the lighting issues with the Carpenter's blocks. I'm thankful to see that the mod Carpenter's blocks has been updated to get rid of a lot of those lighting issues, so that the slide actually looks somewhat like it's supposed to. And then here on the right, we have a little mini library for the kids, place for them to do a little bit of research here and there. And, of course, the teacher's office. Now we make our way back to this road here. A little bit of a jut at the extension. No, it's not the boulevard. That's actually a road east. We'll make a right turn here. Yes, I know I do jump and sprint quite a bit. I do apologize for those of you who are offended by that. At any rate, we've got this area here on this side of that wall is my magic area. We start here in original spawn. Yes, this is original spawn. This is where I first spawned when I generated this world. And then there are 3 other buildings, well, semi-buildings of note here. We've got this spellcrafting altar over here. from Ars Magica 2. We got the Ars Magica 2 spell management area. We have the Oculus, which will let us, grab these, I forget what they're called, but they allow me to make spells. And then the inscription table lets me actually craft the spell instruction books. And then I have to take those to the crafting altar to actually craft the spells. And then this big tower here is my Thaumcraft research tower. And let me actually go up to the top of it. It's a bit of a climb up, unfortunately. But the view from the top is actually pretty nice. Well, it's not that bad. I think I am limited somewhat by the view distance. I mean, you can just about make out the food court and general store over there. The end of the Colosseum is obscured. Or not the Colosseum, the Hippodrome. Why did I call it a Colosseum? That's going to be a separate structure that I build in a later stage. But anyway, that's enough of the magic area. That's everything there is to see at the moment. Again, that will be upgraded this stage. Over here is the new main harbor for Byzantium. Ships are going to be coming in and out of here. I expect my storehouse will probably wind up being in this general vicinity. It's a pretty simple dock with a pretty simple gate. But I probably won't, well, there may be a little bit of room to upgrade it, but not much. Over here is my research lab, which is not completely finished yet. I still need to establish some offices in it. Also, would be prudent to set up some space for actual research to happen. And I know it doesn't really look at the moment, but my ultimate idea for this is that it will resemble the Allied Battle Lab from Red Alert 2. Yeah. The Allied Battle Lab from Red Alert 2 is what I'm ultimately going for, but it won't be there anytime too quickly. Let me go ahead and eat some cooked chicken. Before I make my way to the Hippodrome, I'm going to go ahead and show you the mining headquarters. It's actually a fairly simple pit at this point. Expect upgrades either this stage or next. Possibly in both. Now we make our way, well, we're here at the forum, but I think I'm actually going to show you the Hippodrome first, before I show you the forum. We have our Hippodrome here. We have some merchant stalls. Not completely finished, the merchant stalls are. We also have some seating. Seating capacity, incidentally, is 260 for the horse races. And it's a respectable view of the entire field. There's also a royal box up there, which is where I, as autocrator, will be sitting. Let me see if I can't get you a little bit of a closer view of that. Got a stairway here that takes you up. Some simple tables for holding things like food and whatnot. Some nice chairs that give us the best view in the house. Of course, down there is the actual racetrack. Let me jump down to it. Fortunately, it's not completely inaccessible. I have a way for horses to get in and out. That's through here. It also includes some stables so that the horses have a place to stay while they wait for their race. Next up is the inn at the forum. The inn and pub. Yes, this is a bar. This is where the bartender stands and serves the drinks. This is the kitchen where the food is prepared. This is the reception area here. Of course, we've got our bar patron stools. and our dining tables. We've also got a staircase that takes us upstairs to the rooms at the inn. Pretty simple. It's a 9-room inn. Nothing too horrendously complicated. And actually, the construction of this is part of what spurred me to start doing time lapses in Stage 4 last season. And finally, we arrive at the town hall. Yes, I know I didn't show you my palace. It's going to be completely rebuilt at a fairly early stage, so I'm not even going to bother showing you what it looks like. We start off here in the Grand Meeting Hall. The government sits up there. The people sit here. You know, we have discussions of, the way things go, etc., etc., etc. Now back here are the offices for the leaders. And really this serves double duty as both the leaders of the city of Byzantium and the leaders of Basileia and Industria as a whole. On the right here, we've got first off the Constantine and Justinian conference rooms. Almost identically set up. Conference tables, chairs, etc. We've got our Minister of Magic here. Across the hall from him is the Minister of Mining. Next to the Minister of Mining is the Minister of Technology, who, well, I've read his report. He seems to think he's doing the work of 3 or 4 people. I can't say I disagree. And then over here is our Minister of Agriculture, the longest standing elder of the Basilean. Finally, here is my office. Nice chair and a desk with some books in it. And I'm going to start with the mining report. It's fairly short, 6 pages. My autocrator. Our agricultural production is adequate for our current population, but expansion will be necessary to feed the future of the Basilean. I present 3 routes for your consideration. Firstly, we can automate our existing fields. There are 2 known methods, one of which will automate a square field, and the other of which will automate a roughly octagonal field. Incidentally, mine factory reloaded and forestry respectively. Both will improve yield by a factor of at least 5. Hint hint. Rule of cool, automated fields count as 5. Non-automated fields count as 1 for the purposes of accounting food requirements for the population. Secondly, we can finally automate our ranching. Given the trouble with ranching we've had in the past, this should be a most welcome development. I leave to your wise judgment to determine what method we use to accomplish this goal. I've got a couple thoughts in mind. Third and finally, I have heard rumors of new crop types not available before. Not only will these new crops produce food directly, but they can for the first time be combined to make even more effective food products that our people will enjoy. I pray this report provides wise guidance as you consider our agricultural development during this coming stage. So, that is agriculture, and some foreshadowing of upcoming projects. How about the mining report? My autocrator. Our ore extraction is proceeding apace. While there is a risk of depletion in the area in the future, I do not expect it to be an issue this stage. Our technology is finally advanced to the point where liquid extraction becomes feasible. There is a biome north-northwest of Byzantium that has a significant amount of lava. We can use this lava here in Byzantium to power our smelters and machines, and I recommend that you move to extract this lava as soon as possible. Combining this lava with water can produce obsidian, which, aside from being a useful explosion-resistant building material, particularly useful for the Tower of Trials in its own right, can also be combined with metals to produce a very strong metal that will make particularly effective and durable tools. Alumite, from Thinker's Construct. Combining these tools with the modifiers on your existing tools should fill many of the gaps in your current tool belt. Our economy is beginning to develop, and I expect the technological developments of the coming stage will develop it further. To facilitate the smooth flow of commerce, I recommend building a mint. We can then build a bank to further aid our economy. I can discuss further methods for enhancing our economy, but that overlaps with the mandate of the Ministry of Technology. I can, however, recommend that economic considerations be promoted to the ministry level. I hope this report guides you well as you expand the Basileia in this coming stage. So that's where we're at on mining. Magic should be interesting. My autocrator. Our nascent magical research department has already yielded fruit. Our thaumaturgists have made great strides into the sign of the book, and seem to believe that the sign of the wand and the cauldron will bear fruit. And before I continue with that, let me show you what he's referring to. The sign of the book is this basic information tab in the Thaumanomicon. The sign of the wand is thaumaturgy, and alchemy is the sign of the cauldron. Now, the official rules state that I can research as far as I want, but I'm limited in terms of the production. The thing is, that is predicated on Thaumcraft research being as it was before. That's to say, with a significant element of randomness. That's not there any longer. I can actually more or less almost completely determine what I research at any given point in time. And that means that it is now viable to use research as a limiting factor for Thaumcraft as opposed to production options. But incidentally, last stage I went heavy into the basic information and did nothing on any other tab. This stage I'll be focusing on the thaumaturgy and alchemy tabs. And then next stage I'll likely focus on artifice and golemancy. As for the rest, well, no word on when I'll get to those. Probably on an as-needed basis after Stage 7. Well, Stage 7 on, I should say. Anyway, back to the book. Our wizards, on the other hand, have not been as successful. I believe that this is due to the lack of attention paid to the wizarding arts, and implore you to rectify this situation in the coming stage. This is a reference to Ars Magica, and the fact that I have a small number of Ars Magica spells, as opposed to the completed tab of Thaumcraft research. A group of mages have expressed interest in some arts referred to as witchery, but research into these arts is still in a very primitive state. Perhaps some basic equipment can be arranged at this stage, but I don't expect much progress in this area. Yes, hint hint, that means basic witchery materials. Very, very basic witchery can be used this stage. Finally, another group of mages has expressed interest in the arts of gaining power through self-sacrifice, but to date, none of them have found any way to establish, let alone harness, such power. I will leave them free to hurt themselves trying to make this work, but I do not believe anything will come of this during this stage. That is a reference to blood magic. I hope that this report has been useful in preparing your magical plans for this coming stage. And finally, and this one I know is the big one, the tech report. Given that the big thing in Tech 5 is the addition of redstone with much fewer restrictions than in Stage 4, very, very basic vanilla redstone could be used in Stage 4, but now in Stage 5, we've got lots of options. It's a pretty long treatise. 28 pages. Yeah. My autocrator. I understand that affairs of state are outside my portfolio, but allow me to make a few comments on the current ministry situation. The other ministers have narrow portfolios that leave them well defined. My portfolio, on the other hand, is significantly broader, and I do not expect to be able to keep up with the expected expansion by the end of the stage. Therefore, I propose 3 new ministries for your consideration. Firstly, our expanding Basilean will require many roads to connect, and this stage will see new technologies that will bring the towns and cities even closer. I propose that transportation be a separate portfolio and ministry. Agreed. There will be a Ministry of Transportation by the end of this stage. As the Minister of Mining may have mentioned, our rapidly expanding economy requires better coordination that may best be provided by a ministry devoted to commerce and economic matters. I'll make that call, but it looks like there may be a bit of overlap between mining and technology, so splitting that out into a separate economic ministry just might make some sense. Third and finally, the matters of state do not fall cleanly into any extant portfolio, and so it would be most prudent to establish a portfolio and ministry for civic, imperial, and administrative affairs. Agreed. A Minister of State would be a prudent course of action. As far as the city of Byzantium, I don't know if we're quite at the stage where it would make sense to try to split the city and imperial governments, but it's definitely worth considering. With the cabinet recommendations out of the way, allow me to carefully discuss each component of my expansive portfolio. Transportation. A new method of building ships has been developed. This method will allow ships of medium and large sizes, although there is an upper bound on size. This is Archimedes ships, by the way. This method requires new dock padding, which should be installed swiftly. These new shipbuilding techniques include lighter-than-air containment blocks, which will allow us to build airships and zeppelins. Note that 60% of the total material on any airship must be floating blocks for the airship to fly. Incidentally, that is a config change on my part. Normally it's 40. For the first time, we have the limited ability to produce vehicles that do not rely on animals. At this time, we are limited to simple motorized wagons. One of our scientists has proposed to slap some wings on the wagon and insists that it will fly. I doubt that this proposal is viable, but he insists that you test it and see it for yourself. I leave it to your wise judgment whether or not to test this biplane. We now have the ability to make many different types of iron rails. This should allow such things as inter-town railways, intra-city rail networks, and freight rail networks. I know the mining minister has recommended a new town for mining lava. These new rails should allow the products of this lava pump area to be transported to Byzantium for use and processing. Research and education. Our new school is doing a fine job preparing our children for the future. However, if we are to develop our full potential, we need further educational opportunities. To that end, I recommend that we build a university with a science department to prepare the researchers of the future. Additionally, I acknowledge a certain jealousy of Minister Eugenikos for having a dedicated headquarters for his ministry. I know you built a lab building last stage that currently sits empty, waiting for furnishings and occupants. I humbly recommend that I be allowed to use the lab building as the headquarters of the Ministry of Technology, in addition to its laboratory usage. I think we can arrange that. Industry. The mechanical sciences have finally borne fruit. We have discovered a device that can use not only combustion, but also nearby lava to produce power. We call it the heat generator. We also have 10 machines capable of using this power system. The first of these is the energized smelter, which is simply a furnace that can run on power rather than fuel. We expect this to be more efficient. Next is the crusher, which can crush ores into dust for smelting. We believe that each ore will give more than one dust. Third is the combiner, which can combine dust and stone to produce ores. We have yet to find a use for this. The precision sawmill can process our logs into planks, producing sawdust in the process. Petrola in particular will benefit from one of these. The enrichment chamber can process ores into dust like the crusher and has other unknown uses. The osmium compressor can compress osmium ore into dust. This will be useful for making mechanical devices. The metallurgic infuser is capable of combining items with metals to create alloys with special properties. The electric pump is capable of pumping liquids including water. The electrolytic separator is a machine that can split fluids into big components. Finally, the purification chamber can produce ore clumps for further processing. With the use of basic thermal expansion machines to produce stone during the last stage, our research into this system has advanced greatly. I won't bore you with details of the machines we found, but suffice it to say we are quite advanced. We also have the ability to produce power for some of these machines using steam and magma. Research continues into the use of other fuel sources, but the unavailability of such fuel limits our work. We have designs for other machines, including the sag mill, alloy smelter, painting machine, freezer, mixer, grinder, kiln, multi-smelter, and centrifuge, but we're still trying to figure out what uses they can be put to. The discoveries listed in this report are not comprehensive. We have far too much to discuss in a format such as this, including computation machines and proposals for ore processing. I hope this report whets your appetite and inspires you to advance the Basilean. I look forward to seeing what you do in the coming stage. That was a mouthful. But yeah, as you could probably guess from the relative length of the reports, we're going to be a bit tech and automation heavy this stage. That's not to say that we'll completely abandon other aspects of the Refugee to Regent challenge or of the development of the Basilean, but do expect a lot of tech, do expect a lot of automation, and please look forward to the rest of this series. And with that, I will see you next time, everybody.